Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, September 24th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. Lots to discuss. Possible Google algorithm update last weekend. I'm seeing some signs, and we're right about this yet, of another update starting today. I'll let you know about that next week, I guess, or Monday. Google Search Console reports had major issues this week. Google Ads changed their keyword matching and implemented BERT. And so much more. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this one. Of course, thanks to our sponsor. Thanks, Duda, the professional website builder you can call your own. Thank you so much for sponsoring, and check them out at duda.co. All right, let's get into it. First up, there was a possible Google algorithm update on the 16th and 17th. So that was like Friday and Saturday of last week. Definitely a lot of chatter around it. Not as significant chatter as most updates, but there was definitely chatter, as well as other tools that are showing significant updates around the 16th and the 17th of September. So if you saw any ranking changes then, you're not alone. And like I said, there may have been some type of update happening, starting today. So I'll be on the lookout for that, and I'll keep you posted. Google Search Console had some significant issues. I think starting Monday afternoon. I went offline Monday afternoon, and then when I came back, it started to fix itself on Thursday, but Tuesday and Wednesday, Google Search Console reports were way backed up. When I checked in on Wednesday night, it was like 130 hours backed up, meaning they didn't have any recent data. Usually it's like 4 to 6 hours or so of data of when it was last updated, the Search Console performance report and Discover reports. Now, with this bug, it was basically stuck. Google announced that there was an issue with it, and Google was fixing it. Even Google Search Console went down for a little bit. So there were significant issues with that. Google fixed it as of yesterday, Thursday morning. So all is good. I don't think any data has been lost. It was just something was stuck, and they fixed it. John Mueller said, and this is the first time I heard him actually say this, that it doesn't really help you for SEO reasons to remove old news content. So if you have a news publisher like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, etc., removing old content won't necessarily help you for SEO reasons. Now, of course, a lot of SEOs will probably debate that or argue with that, but there is value in having old content with dated old content. So just keep that in mind. I'm a big believer of keeping old content there for historical purposes, but I know a lot of SEOs that have had major success. I never tried it myself, but major success in removing old content from their websites, specifically even news sites. So keep that in mind. Google said, and it kind of went into more detail around the importance of using bylines for articles to show trust. The question is, what if a publisher or author is afraid to put their name on something because they don't want to be abused or harassed or something like that online? Some authors receive death threats and prefer to be published anonymously, says Lily Ray. What do you do if you want to go ahead and show best practices with EAT? John Mueller said it's not a requirement to add author names, but it is good practice. If you can't do it for all content, so be it. If you can't do it for any content and it's basically trust us, then I don't know how users are supposed to deal with that. So just keep that all in mind. So Google implemented some new automotive retail features, which basically let you search for a specific car model, and Google will then show you all the specs and way to filter on those specs. So if you want to look for a Honda Accord, you could, I don't know the model, but let's say it was like an EX or EXL or SL, I don't know. You can actually filter by those models in Google Search directly. Here's like a screenshot of the Honda Pilot, and you can select different configurations of it, and then it'll tell you the MSRP and all the different stats around it. This really seemed to upset the auto manufacturer or auto retail industry, the car dealerships, because they want their content, or like the Edmunds and so forth, they want their content to show up really well in Google search. But it looks like, according to Danny Sullivan, Danny said that they are licensing this data from a third party. So they, I guess technically Google doesn't have to show a source or citation for this data. But Danny Sullivan said, yeah, we want to. I suggested that we do show the source, even though we are licensing it. But right now that Google's not. Either way, it seemed to have upset significantly the automotive industry. Google's John Mueller said that self-referential canonicals can help SEOs clean up small mistakes. A self-referential canonical is basically when you have on your own page a canonical back to your own page. It's basically just a way of cleaning up these URLs. So if somebody ever links to your page with URL parameters or other characters at the end of the URL, Google will pick up on the self-referential canonical to the main URL of that URL, and then obviously Google will clean all that stuff up for you using the self-referential canonical. So definitely use it, doesn't hurt. A lot of websites have it automatically built into their CMS. Google said it's not terribly bad to have related links on a page dynamically change. So you often see this where you go to a product page and it will say these are related products or these are related stories to a article page. And often those links are somewhat static, but if you refresh, sometimes websites will dynamically load new links that are related based on whatever the database pulls at that random time. Now, John Mueller said it's not terrible to have those links dynamically change. It's obviously better to keep them static, but it's not terrible to have them change, and Google will still be able to pick up on those on some level. On the ad side, Google announced major news this week, specifically around phrase match and broad match predictability. And let me read to you what they said. They call this matching, they named this as matching the most relevant keywords to your search. There was basically a change that they made to phrase and broad match, how they're basically handling the keyword matching. What happens is when they're not identical, and basically how Google uses BERT to match the queries, Google said it's improving the understanding of search intent and more predictability in how keywords are matched. Now, it's very complicated. It's the way they worded these blog posts. Google Ads is notorious for wording blog posts to, I don't know if they intentionally try to confuse everybody. Even the PPC experts are like, why are you doing this, Google? Whenever they announce stuff, they make this out to be some amazing new thing, but yet it might be actually bad for your customers. And it seems like most advertisers are not happy with this change. Basically, in short, the exact match keyword that is identical to the query is now always preferred as long as it's eligible to match. Going forward, both phrase match and broad match keywords will also follow that behavior, which Google announced back for exact match back in February of this year. Now they're doing this for both phrase and broad match. I'm not going to go into all the little details. Also, Google's being better at understanding the keywords, leveraging BERT as well on the Google Ads side. I wrote about it today on September 24th. Definitely take a look at that. It's very, very interesting. And it's really hard for me to explain. You have to see the examples in the actual blog post to understand it fully. Also, Google this week announced advertiser pages. So Google's rolling out these advertisers pages where if you want to learn more about who is advertising in search ads or YouTube ads or whatever it might be, you could click about show their past 30 or so days of ads, and it will actually show you that. Here's a GIF of that in action. Google Ads has also added booking links and more information about points of interest. They're calling it things to do's, things to do on Google or whatever. And now they're actually adding booking links. You could add your own if you want. There's more information about that on Search Engine Roundtable. Yesterday, or actually 2 days ago, there was some type of a billing glitch in the afternoon, I believe on September 22nd. September 22nd, where Google Ads somehow have some type of outage around serving for about 2 to 3 hours. I think it was from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific time on September 22nd. Because of that really messed up reporting in that date range. When you were actually looking at reports, you may have seen weird issues with billing reports. Google confirmed the issue. I think things are all back to normal, but that did confuse a lot of advertisers, so keep that in mind. Microsoft Advertising added a bunch of new search ad attributes. They're calling it marketing with a purpose. And those new attributes are 32 different new attributes in the categories of inclusion, environmental, community social responsibility, and accessibility. So for examples, are you promoting inclusion around vegan or kosher or halal, alcohol-free, gluten-free, environmental things like eco-friendly, sustainable, carbon negative, community responsibilities around nonprofit stuff, family-owned businesses, black-owned businesses, etc., and accessibility around wheelchair accessibility and touchless pickup and no contact delivery, as well as web accessibility. So keep that all in mind. It's nice to see Microsoft pushing those. Of course, Google has limited sets of those features on the Google My Business side and other areas as well. So definitely take a look at that. It could definitely promote your ads a little bit more. Mozilla announced this week that they're testing in Firefox, their browser, which used to be an incredibly popular browser. It's popular, but it's not what it was. They're testing showing Microsoft Bing as the default search engine for 1% of their users. Google has a multi-year relationship with Mozilla where they are the default search engine, and they've renewed that deal, I think, a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. So I guess they could test it on 1% of the users, but it's interesting to see them testing it. And finally, XMX announced this week that they are going to be staying virtual through 2022. So XMX Conference, the big SEO conference that, at least in the US, I'm not sure what happens outside the US, but in the US, the conferences will remain virtual until 2022. I assume this has, I'm not the one who made the decision. Obviously, I'm very involved in XMX, but it's a lot of factors around making sure people are safe, not being able to pull off a show properly and the level that XMX wants to do. In person and hybrid at the same time. It's a little bit more complicated, I guess. I'm not exactly sure. The details are laid out by Chris Elwell, so definitely take a look at that. And I do hope everybody's safe. I think it is the right decision to make until we can figure out if there's an end to this or what the future is. In any event, be safe. Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a great weekend. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. Thanks again to Duda. Check them out at duda.com. .co for sponsoring. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Duda. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be safe, be healthy. Just a little heads up, I am again offline again on Tuesday and Wednesday. I will have things scheduled. And then I am back to a normal schedule. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Bye-bye.